You are not supposed to be up here. Okay, good morning everyone. Welcome back. Are we live? I believe I did hit the button. We are live. Okay. So if you're here live or if you're here watching the playback, welcome back to another episode of Let's Practice Cursive. There is not usually a cat here, but today there is a cat and he's in a mood. So hopefully the cat is not too distracting. Hello, Sarab Mangal. Oh, I hope I didn't butcher your name there, but I'm doing my best. Thank you for joining me this morning. My name's Diego Irigoyen, if this is your first time here, and we are going to be practicing some cursive, so I'm really excited that you've joined me for that today. And yeah, he is really anxious to get up onto the table here, aren't you? Yep, we're gonna be doing some practice. So I'll probably have to kick him out of the room if he's gonna keep being like this. But yeah, I had some more to say, and then I'm now distracted by a cat. While I get this cat sorted, I made a short little video yesterday featuring that same practice session from the day before. So, oh, this is your first live video. Oh, welcome, welcome. So happy to have you here. I hope that you can find this is helpful in your journey. If you're interested in cursive, this is going to help you with cursive, I hope. But you know, the idea behind it is I'm gonna go ahead and share my practice with you, and in that way you can potentially improve your practice as well. So the cat is off my lap now. Okay, we can show you this little video that we made for Instagram. Short little clip here. Yeah, I have a couple other videos where I talk about myself in more depth, but yeah, if you have any questions along the way here, I'm more than happy to share more about myself. Yes, I have done Gothic. Well, I guess technically the style that I was working with was more of a German text. I used to work in a prison. I was teaching art, and calligraphy was one of the arts that I taught in the prison, and we learned a broad edge style of calligraphy, and that was I used the William style of German text exemplar for that, so it was more of a German text. I don't know if it would be considered Gothic, but my primary practice is business penmanship. I'm most interested in business penmanship and the practical side of handwriting, and how can we make our handwriting experience as pleasant for ourselves as we can for the people who get to experience the writing afterwards. So business handwriting is something that I've really fallen in love with, and just recently, this past weekend, I was doing research on American penmanship and the history of that, and man, was I ever so fascinated with the history of American penmanship. Can you give me your email ID? I'm not active on Instagram, only on YouTube, and that too has a viewer. So I have way more content here on YouTube. My Instagram only shows some videos of me handwriting. I'm going to give you an example now of a video that you can watch on Instagram. It's going to play right now. So this video I made for Instagram, and it's just a short little clip, close-up of my writing. And in that video there, I'm just working on the word university. So that was a part of a series. I've been working with all the capitals and creating short little videos in business penmanship on Instagram, but those videos get released in a longer format here on YouTube as well. So you will see that video again here on YouTube in a few weeks here. Once I get through the last letters, I have to do V, W, X, Y, and Z, and once I get all those done and filmed, I can actually create a video for that to upload to YouTube. The other thing you can do is you can actually I'm pretty sure you can browse Instagram on the desktop computer or the laptop or whatever you're using. You can just go to the description and click the link. Is Palmer the same as Palmer? I don't know what you mean by that. Yes, I'm not entirely sure. How can we email you? You can email me at dieyeninfo.com. dieyen.com. If you go to that website, there's a contact button there. Business is same as Palmer. Yes, actually Palmer taught business. Palmer taught business cursive. So this is Palmer's book right here. The Palmer Method of Business Writing. So, Palmer was a proponent of business cursive, and along the way, as things get, things become more vague, things become categorized, and so it became known as Palmer, but really it's business cursive that Palmer taught. And later on, especially in the last few decades here, the art of teaching it has been lost as well too, because there was a very specific way that you were supposed to write business cursive. The letters aren't meant to be drawn out like other styles of writing. So it's pretty unique style of penmanship to the United States. And this was something that I was learning about over the weekend. It's just so interesting to me. I hadn't realized the place of it in history. Again, I have liked your video first. Excellent, Shazon. Thank you so much for giving me a thumbs up. I appreciate it. So yeah, thank you guys for joining me today. We're going to get into a little bit of cursive writing, business writing, as we usually do every morning. Today is Tuesday, so as you guys know, every Tuesday and Thursday we write with our right hands, and every Monday and Wednesday we write with our left hands. So if you're a lefty, make sure to come back on Mondays and Wednesdays this same time every morning, and I will be practicing with my left hand so you can see how I do that. And if you're a right-handed person, stick around right now because you're going to find out how I do it with my right hand. And on Fridays, we leave that day open for special topics. So I might do some other things on Fridays or things that I'm interested in. So we're going to get into some writing today. We've been talking about for the last couple days the size of writing and how we can make our writing height smaller for the college ruled paper, so your standard line height. And I've been talking about the height that I've been learning from Michael Soule in his American Cursive Handwriting, which is very similar to Palmer as well, but it's just a more modern take on the whole style of writing. So I'm working on the letter V right now personally, so I'm going to turn to that page again. Keep that page open just so I can continue to see that letter. And the other thing that I've been doing is I've been working a little bit with a ballpoint pen. Logging in from laptop to practice with you. Excellent. Is Palmer similar to Spencerian? So from what I've read, Palmer is essentially the practical evolution of Spencerian. The two are different, very different, because that element of pressure that you have to use in order to create the shading in Spencerian changes the game and makes it a completely unique thing. So the two are similar in that they both incorporate some arm movement, and the forms are very similar, the letter forms. However, in the end, Spencerian is unique enough to be its own thing, as well as the business handwriting, because one is simplistic, one is a monoline. Spencerian is more ornamental, and it's also considered a very vintage style of writing. So it's they're similar. There's some similarities between them, but ultimately they're different things. Something that if you're interested in Spencerian, the more ornate evolution of that is something called ornamental penmanship. And that is basically kind of like an even closer combination of business penmanship and Spencerian. So I have books in these two folders, Business Palmer and Spencerian Ornamental. Yes. So you probably have this one, the same one that I'm using here. So that's a great book to follow. You're going to have to read it, really read it through several times and pay attention to the diagrams and find the positioning that accommodates as, for the freedom of movement, because this is really a movement-based penmanship. It has, you're not drawing the letters out. You're not, and this is a distinction that's kind of hard to put into words, but yeah, you're not drawing the letters. And a lot of other styles of writing, and most people, when they learn to write too, they learn to draw the letters. Where here, we're not really drawing letters. We're moving through letters. So we're going to go ahead and just get started here. I have a little bit of ink left in my pen, and I would just like to use as much of it as I can, and then go on with a new pen. But so yeah, we're just going to use this pen till it dies, and I should probably put my phone on silent. So if you hear any meowing along the way, that's not me. I don't meow. My cat will meow. Can you comment on what Sol has done on the Palmer to come out with his cursive book? It's kind of hard to say what he's done. I don't know if he's done anything specifically with Palmer. His book, I feel, is like an evolution. Hey, what are you doing over there? Don't do that. Don't do that. His book is kind of like a simplistic form of Spencerian, where you need to be careful. There's ink and stuff over here. I'm open to page 72 right now. But yeah, his book is like a simplistic form of the Palmer, of the Spencerian forms. It's very thorough, though, and the thing with his book that's so valuable is that he's talking in such a way that is easier to understand in today's terms, because if you've read the Palmer book, sometimes the language can be a little bit confusing, and just the way they frame their thoughts and everything, it was a little bit different. And the other thing is that in these books, they're not as thorough because the teachers are meant to be trained on par with the style. So there is a lot more involvement from the teacher's end, where Michael's coming from the perspective of understanding that the cursive art is being lost right now. So we have to revitalize it, and so he has a lot more in-depth conversation in his book. And it's also very practical. His idea is that we want to teach a penmanship style that's very practical. The reference edition for American Cursive Handwriting, is that what you're saying? I believe that the reference edition is the one with the steel binding, the rings. Is that correct? Okay, we're going to move into doing some drills here. Am I out of ink already? Maybe I am. Personally, I would have gone with the student edition, just because the binded edition, the rings, they're steel rings, and I don't think you can take the papers out without tearing those. Where in the student edition, you can it gives you all loose sheets, so there is there's no there's no binding on those papers. So what you can do is you can just get a 3-ring binder, put it in the 3-ring binder, and then make copies of the pages you want to use, so that way you never run out of practice pages. So I just got the student edition because I like that idea, and I can just make copies of the pages that I'm working on if I need to. I haven't gone super in depth with his writing. I've really only looked at like little details on what he says about movement, because that's what interests me, and also what he says on writing heights, because that's been an interest here. Okay, so that pen is out of ink. We're just going to go ahead and use a fountain pen here. The Lamy 2000. Oh, I almost forgot. Get a little bit of music in there for you guys. Let me know if the music's too loud, too quiet. I can adjust all that, so just let me know. I'm using Theory Book of Spencerian Penmanship. I've heard that it is a very good book for beginners. What do you think about it? I'm not entirely sure which book that is. I haven't really done too much research on Spencerian. I've seen that some of those generic versions of Spencerian aren't too hot, but Michael Soule has a kind of a saga on Spencerian that I hear is really good. Personally, I don't think it's in print. I think you have to buy them used, or there's a few new out there, but they're hard to get hands on. Oh, my grip. Yes, I can show you my grip. So this is how I'm holding the pen. This is what is called the tripod grip. So the pen rests against the finger, just above the knuckle, and this middle finger. The thumb braces the pen against the middle finger. This pen sits on top, or this finger sits on top, and it doesn't put pressure down. One of the reasons I really enjoy using a fountain pen is because you don't need to write with any pressure. So that's a big part of this style of writing as well, is that you don't want to use too much pressure when you're writing. Your hand should be simply holding the pen in place. We don't need to squeeze the pen. I have another video where I go in depth. It's a part of the practical penmanship video. I think it's entitled Fundamentals, Grip, and some other stuff, whole arm movement or something. But yeah, I know that fundamentals is in the title of that video. And you get a lot of different angles. I go over right and left-handed. One thing that I tend to do when I'm writing is I have a very dramatic slant, so you can kind of see it here. The slant is way too dramatic. Oh, no, you're gonna get ink on you, buddy. And you're moving the camera around. This isn't gonna work. I know you were born a star, but let's see if we can get the cat off the table. Do you recommend any cheap flex or a good non-flex pen? Cheap pens. The best cheap pen you can potentially buy. Sorry, hold on. Okay, the cat just really wanted to sit on my chair with me. Okay, so let's see, best pens you could buy that aren't an arm and a leg. Let me think about this for a moment. I mean, my favorite pen of all time is this Lamy 2000. Favorite pen. But there's a lot of good pens out there. The Pilot Metropolitan is really a go-to pen. I don't have it inked up right now, so I can't really show you a demonstration, but as a beginner's fountain pen, you can write wonderfully using that pen because you don't need a lot of pressure. It's got all the properties of a fountain pen. It's really inexpensive. You can use it as a converter. It comes with a converter, so you can fill it up with any ink. Do cats poop anytime they want? No. Well, I imagine the same as a human does. We go to the restroom to do it. But these cats have boxes, and they're really good about going outside too. So we've never had an incident inside the house. Yeah, fountain pens. Pilot Metropolitan. That's the one fountain pen I can recommend with confidence, and it's not too expensive. So really can't go wrong with a wonderful pen like that. I was watching my friend live stream the other day. Oh, David, thank you for making it. I think you're in the same time zone as I am, so you had to get up early as well. Scale 1 to 10, what is your grip strength? I don't know. I didn't even know that there was a scale for grip strength. I would say it's somewhere in the middle. I used to do this exercise you can watch in old videos where I bounced a golf ball off of a hammer. And so as we got better at that exercise, we would get heavier hammers. So by the end we were using like a 10-pound sledgehammer, and we were holding that 10-pound sledgehammer from like the middle of the hammer, so that's a lot of weight on one end, and I can still grip that hammer and hold it there. So most people can't do it the first time they try, so I just have some really specific muscles developed to gripping that are pretty pointless in other applications. But yeah, I have used the ebooks from your website. Oh, well, that's good to hear. I know the ebook doesn't go extremely in-depth with Palmer method or business cursive handwriting. That's not the point behind that book. But ambidextrous handwriting was something that helped me. The sledgehammer kiss. Yeah. But yeah, ambidextrous handwriting was something that really helped me improve without any conscious effort. So I wasn't making an effort to improve my handwriting then. I was just writing every day as an exercise, and slowly things were progressing, and ambidextrous writing was something that I think accelerated that whole process. So yeah, we've been working on making things smaller here on the page to kind of make things practical for people who are looking to write on college ruled paper. Yeah, there's still videos somewhere on this YouTube channel. The very first videos we made here were of me and my brother practicing whole brain power, and if you've not heard of whole brain power, that's how we got into the ambidexterity. And sorry, page no again, please. Oh, page number. I'm looking at page 72 right now because I want to get to the letter V eventually. But what I'm doing here is just a warm-up. But the older videos on this channel are of me and my brother talking about whole brain power, and they're hilarious. I look back at those videos and somewhat embarrassing but funny at the same time. Whole what? Whole brain power. Can't talk and do this at the same time. I'm gonna have to focus. Okay, excuse me just a second. The cat is scratching at the door. I love the music and the contents. Excellent, I'm glad you're enjoying it. Thank you for joining me, Jason. Yeah, the music is a recent addition. It's so hard to find music that you can safely use without the copyright infringement. So luckily this has been working for the last few days, so I just keep playing the same mix over and over. So this 1/16 thing, I'm listening. I'm not sure. Like intuitively, it's hard to say. I know that my handwriting over the last several years has only gotten larger. I'm definitely targeting people who are going to be heavy enthusiasts in handwriting. I'm looking for somebody, or I'm targeting people who are interested in just simple practicality for handwriting. So college ruled paper, being able to write on college ruled paper effectively is kind of a goal. And you know, he talks about it in when he's promoting his book. I don't know if you've seen in the Penman Studios on Iampith's YouTube channel, but they do the interview with Michael Soul, and he talks about 1/16 being kind of the advanced and the ultimate goal of letter heights for lowercase letters. And I was looking at his samples too in his handbook, and it's just, they're really small. Yeah, they're much larger, and I'm thinking because back then they were making documents, so they were using this handwriting for the production of documents, and it needed to be legible in a different way than I think they do today. So today kids are taking notes in class, and it's a different application of the writing. Yeah, you know more than I do, that's for sure. Oh, in correspondence, okay. Yeah, I've only started to like become interested. I guess I just got bit by the bug recently, the historical bug, watching that interview with Michael Soul and Joe Vitolo, and I want to do more research now on what's available. Yeah, I think, you know, like the way I see my place right and what's going on right now is I want to advocate handwriting. I want people to see the value in it, and that way I see what Michael Soul's done as something in alignment with that. So I think it's interesting what he has to say. Thank you. Yeah, there definitely is. Yeah, you don't want to start Sora at the 1/16th height. You can start writing a little bigger. And my writing, slowly as I first started getting into whole arm movement and penmanship in general, only got larger. And it wasn't until later that I actually wrote smaller. Thank you, Shazan, for the compliment. That last sentence you wrote is funny. I know you have a typo there, but I mean you're white like pro. Yeah, I'm white like a pro, that's for sure. I didn't have a choice about that one. Los Angeles. I'm living down here close to LA. 20 minutes from the downtown suburbs. Oh, but parents are from Latin America, Guatemala and El Salvador. Yeah, I speak really good English for living in Mexico City, don't I? Will a quarter or eighth size also be without finger movement? Yeah, absolutely. Just let me know when you're in town. Or I actually passed through Portland this summer, and I'd like to go back up there. Portland is really awesome. So. Will a quarter or an eighth size also be without finger movement? Yeah, typically I don't ever write with finger movement. It's actually a little easier to go larger. Writing smaller has been a little bit of a challenge. I'm not really enjoying the fountain pen. Let's go ahead and switch over to a little bit of ink. Here. I'm in India. That's awesome. I've always wanted to visit India. God bless technology. Yeah, isn't it amazing? I know, I trip out on that sometimes too. Like, I've noticed that, and I know that this time that I'm doing these streams at, it kind of, you know, it aligns with your time zone better than it does with my own, because most people here are going to work at this time. they're waking, or they're barely waking up, or they're not even up yet. So do I do flex writing? I've done some flex writing, but I've never really delved deep. Jason Kim, South Korea. South Korea, awesome. That's cool to hear. We've got the whole world here now. I've done some flex writing before. It's not really my expertise per se, or I don't really have an expertise, I shouldn't. But my main concern is practical application. So I'm always interested in how we can practically incorporate handwriting into our life and what kind of benefits can come from it. So I tend to stay away because it's a whole nother rabbit hole too. It's just so much time. Which one should we learn first, flex or monoline? You know, it just depends what you want. It's going to depend on what you're looking for out of handwriting. Why is this piece so hard? You work in UK and USA time zone. What does that mean? Well, there's not really much shading in Palmer, but if you're using a very flexible nib, you can get a little bit, just kind of like through the motions. But it's not meant to, you're not meant to flex the pen at all. And even with some fountain pens, if you have a softer nib, you can get some line variation out of it. Like from afternoon to night. Oh, okay. Wow, you took your break to spend it with me. I'm honored. The upper turnoffs. What do you mean? Is it like this little loop that happens at the top? Like this thing? I've ordered The Art of Cursive Penmanship by Michael Soul. I'm actually not familiar with that at all. Yeah, I'm not familiar at all with that book, so I can't say if it's a good one. It has student edition and reference edition. Now they're talking amongst each other. I just finished reading a good paper on early American handwriting last night. Yeah, I would love to read that. There's in the Discord channel, there's a section I created for handwriting resources. You should be able to link that there. And that way we can check it out. That sounds really cool. Which book are you referring to? Oh, the American Cursive Handwriting? He said the art of cursive penmanship. That's different. The small loops of the R, the S. I think those are optional. I don't think you have to do those small loops at the top. Sometimes they just come out because of the way I'm writing, but I don't think you're supposed to have small loops at the top of the R or the S. It's just aesthetic preference. I always get caught up with how many capitals. Palmer says you should do a minute. Like for the letter V, he says you should do 55 per minute. 55 capital V's per minute. Another thing he talks about is the tail ending. He says that it shouldn't be too long. If I look at his samples, you see that it ends a little lower than what we have going on here. Yeah, maybe we can do that on Friday, Sarah. That one's kind of decent. What time does your live video start? It starts at 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, Monday through Friday. So my A there, the A is not touching the baseline, but yeah, to get down to that 1/16 height is pretty, it's pretty difficult. When he said that number, I was like, really? But for college ruled paper, it kind of makes sense since the lines are so small. I don't know if maybe it'd be more practical with a ballpoint pen. Do you write bullet journals? You know, I've heard of the bullet journal system and I've been interested in it, but I've actually never done the research on it. I listened to the guy who started that whole style of journaling in a podcast, and it's quite interesting. I'd be interested in learning about it. It's just there's so much I'm interested in learning about. I'm actually getting ready for a fine art show this Saturday. I have a performance piece in a show close by, and at the closing reception I agreed to do a second performance. That's like my main thing, is I do fine art, and penmanship is like a passion thing on the side. If I could recommend one book for writing, what would it be? I think if you have no experience in writing and and you're just looking for some practical style of handwriting, it'd probably be Michael Soule's book. Mainly because it's been written in modern times, so it understands the needs of people today. So its context is much better. American Cursive Handwriting, that's the book I'd recommend. I like that V. Yeah, it is very different. I'm quite enjoying it though, and like when you feel it, you can feel what you're doing right. It's sometimes really hard to explain because it's such a sensual thing for me, like the physicality of it, and it's kind of more like a muscle, like an intelligence you hold in your muscles and in your nervous system than it is something that you can put into words. Yeah, like this V over here, I could really feel it. Like I was feeling that early lift too, because you know, if I look here in his exemplars, from the top of the loop to the exit stroke, there's like a little, it's lower. The exit stroke is lower, and he talks about it as well. He says one of the marks of a good V is one that you know, exits at the right part of the letter, that you don't want the tail to be too long. So that's something that I'm really focusing on, is getting out of the letter on time, because it's so easy to want to like really flourish the V out, like kind of what's going on over here. Or see in the bigger examples, like see all of these exits are too high. This one's getting better. I'd say, yeah, like this one is just too high, too high. So that, I have some good examples here on the smaller case. Like this one's nice. I was pretty happy with this one. I could show you close up. So that small V, I was pretty happy with that one. You could see that coming out of the A though. That's something that I need to work on, is my spacing between letters. Just check my order. I got all 3. You're set then. Yeah. The American Cursive Handwriting, that's the one I have. Offhand flourishing technique. That's awesome. You've got a great set of resources there. Make use of them. Where did you order your books from? Dang it. You know, I did a good job exiting the A without going too far, but I didn't get enough loop on the E. That would have been a nice one. Paper and Ink Arts. Yeah, I've heard of that site. Yeah, John Neal's where I usually start looking for books if I'm interested. That's where I got the American Cursive from. Alright, we are out of room on this sheet of paper. Alright guys, and I think we're at a minute or an hour and 5 minutes here, so I'm going to have to call the stream there. Put this down right here. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I really appreciate all of your time, and I hope you have found this session valuable. We will see you tomorrow morning. We'll be back with another session here. Tomorrow we'll be working on the left-handed penmanship, so if you're a left-hander and you're interested in that, please come by. And if not, then just come by and watch me write with the left hand and talk or whatever. All right, thank you guys so much for joining me. We'll see you guys again. Take care.